press play and let the story begin. Welcome to Velvety Vibe. It was Thursday night, September 14th. Yalda, after giving Farnaz and Narges a full report of everything over the phone, finally felt a little lighter. She had begged them to stand by her at the ceremony tomorrow, but every time she thought about it, a wave of nerves swept over her whole body. Mr Reza had told her to pack up her things, since in the morning, Parvane and Hossein would take them over to Shahab's house. The rush of it all left Yalda bewildered. She wished she had more time to daydream, to imagine a different tomorrow. As she closed her suitcase, she noticed her own hands trembling. She stopped for a moment, staring at them, and whispered to herself, "God, why am I shaking like this? Why can't I control myself? Am I really supposed to get married tomorrow? Is this actually happening? How? I don't even know him. What if all of Mr. Reza's calculations turn out wrong? Oh God, help me. Does this mean tomorrow night I'll be living in that cold, lifeless house of his? Why is everything in my life always so different from everyone else's?" The more she thought, the heavier her chest grew. She thought about the wedding dress she would never wear, the salon she would never go to, the photographer, the videographer, the guests, and the wedding ring that hadn't even been bought. "Oh my God," she said aloud. "I'm actually getting married. Then why does nothing feel right?" She tried to calm herself by repeating that this was all just a game with an end, a game that would be over in 6 months. She thought of Sohail, one of her classmates, who had confessed his love and even proposed to her more than once. What if he found out she had married? The thought made her stomach twist. She almost liked the idea of shocking him. But no one was supposed to know, because after 6 months, who would want to propose to a girl who'd already been married? She was supposed to marry a man she didn't know. The thought alone sent another shiver through her. She whispered again, "No, I'm not going to think about it anymore. I'll just trust God. Please, Lord, help me not to regret this." Her heart felt a touch lighter, but sleep never came. By 4 p.m. the next day, Yalda was ready. Seeing Farnaz and Narges waiting inside Sasan's car filled her with relief. She tried to act composed, at least in front of Farnaz's brother, so as not to lose face. Deep down, she suspected Sasan wasn't indifferent toward her, though she had never shared that thought with her friends. Slowly, she walked toward the car. Sasan quickly stepped out, greeting her warmly. Oh God, Yalda thought. Does Sasan know? Farnaz must have told her family. A sting of shame ran through her. She hated the idea that anyone might think she was marrying for Mr. Reza's wealth, even if that's exactly what it looked like. Worse still, she feared Shahaab might humiliate her again in front of her friends and in front of Sasan. Farnaz rolled down the window and teased, laughing. "Hello, bride." Yalda forced a faint, bitter smile and lowered her gaze. "Come on, why don't you get in?" Narges asked. "I can't. Mr. Reza wants me to go with him," Yalda replied. "So, where's the groom?" Farnaz asked. "Damn it, how should I know? Apparently he's going there on his own." "And the officiant?" Narges pressed. "Somewhere in Tadrish, Miramamzadeh Saleh." "An acquaintance?" "Yeah, a friend of Mr. Reza's." Narges tilted her head. "Why the long face? Today you're supposed to be happy." "She's right," Farnaz chimed in. "A bride shouldn't look this upset." "I'm just scared." "Of the groom?" Farnaz teased. "Farnaz, for God's sake, stop calling him the groom. I swear I'm going to be sick." "You're worrying for nothing," Narges said softly. "Stop feeding yourself bad thoughts." Their concern was obvious, though both tried hard to act casual, not wanting to worsen her nerves. Farnaz, always the quick thinker, changed the subject and reached into her bag. "Guess what I brought?" "What is it?" "A video camera. Sasan's." "Wait, does Sasan know?" "Yeah, Sort of. Why'd you tell him? Why not? It's none of his business anyway. Was I not supposed to? I don't know. Forget it. By the way, you look gorgeous, Farnaz said with a grin. Totally, Nargis added. You're a perfect bride. Yalda, insecure, asked cautiously. Do you really think so? Of course, love, Nargis reassured her. You look stunning. Exactly, Farnaz teased again. I don't know how the groom's gonna keep his promises now. Poor guy. She giggled mischievously. Nargis and Yalda both swatted her in mock protest. Yalda reached her hand into the car toward Nargis. Hold my hand. Nargis took it, then gasped. Well, you're freezing. Are you cold? The question was pointless. She knew Yalda always turned ice cold whenever she was nervous or overwhelmed. Yalda just answered, I'm dying here, Nargis. My heart's about to jump out of my chest. Farnaz laughed. Oh, stop it. Just think about the money. The sound of Sasan greeting Mr. Reza at the door pulled them back to reality. Yalda, murmuring, Pray for me, you guys, hurried away to join the men. She climbed into the car with Mr. Reza, while his driver, Mr. Sabori, slid behind the wheel. By the window, Parvane burned Asfand, waving the smoke in blessing. Hossein stood nearby, pale and restless, both of them watching Yalda as if she were being led to sacrifice. Yalda had already said her heartfelt goodbyes. She didn't want to cry again, so she avoided meeting their eyes too long. Parvane leaned in close to her and whispered, My dear, I've set up your room with Hossein. Whatever you need, just call me and I'll bring it. I've cooked for a couple of days and put it all in the fridge. Promise you'll come visit us. Take care of yourself, my girl. May you be blessed with happiness. She kissed Yalda's face again, eyes brimming with tears. Yalda's gaze, full of gratitude for all the kindness she had received in that home, lingered on their sorrowful faces. Her hands rose instinctively in farewell as the car pulled away. The convoy of cars rolled forward. Yalda glanced at her reflection in the mirror. She looked beautiful, more than she had dared hope. A light blue blouse with matching pants, her face softly made up, the faint perfume she had chosen so carefully. As Nargis had said, despite the rush and chaos, Yalda still looked every bit a proper bride. At last, they stopped in front of a large, elegant two-story villa. Mr. Reza told the driver to pull over. Yalda stepped out, studying the house and its quiet surroundings. Shahaab wasn't there yet. Sasan's car came to a halt behind them, and Yalda finally noticed how polished they all looked. Sasan, Farnaz, and Nargis, dressed up, each holding a bouquet. Nargis hurried over, concern on her face. Don't be so nervous. You've gone completely pale. Yalda could barely see where she was walking. She clung to Nargis like a child, careful not to stumble. Mr. Reza looked tense too. Perhaps, Yalda thought, it was because Shahaab hadn't shown up yet. A dreadful thought struck her. What if he doesn't come? What if I'm humiliated in front of my friends? Just then, the screech of tires cut through her panic. A black patrol SUV stopped sharply in front of Mr. Reza's car. Relief spread across his face. So he had been worried too. The car turned off. Shahaab stepped out with a friend, Kambiz. He wore jeans and a casual shirt, sunglasses pushed up onto his head. The first pair of eyes he met and quickly avoided were Yalda's. He didn't even bother with formal clothes. He could have at least tried, for my sake, in front of my friends. Her stomach tightened. All her rehearsals from the night before, how she'd stay calm, how she'd greet him with equal coolness, vanished the second she saw him. The nerves returned tenfold. She couldn't even look at him. And Shahaab, for his part, behaved as though she didn't exist. Kambiz, Shahab's close friend and business partner, came forward warmly. "Hello, you must be Miss Yalda." She managed a smile, nodding. "Yes, I'm Kambiz. A pleasure to meet you." Shahab stood to the side, giving a curt greeting to no one in particular. eyes lowered. Sasan introduced himself to Kambiz, and they shook hands, but Sasan's gaze lingered on Shahab's stern face, measuring him. Farnaz and Nargiz stuck close to Yalda. Their earlier excitement dimmed into nervous silence. Farnaz leaned close and whispered, giggling, "Lucky you, he's gorgeous." Nargiz elbowed her sharply. "Shh." Mr. Reza ushered everyone toward the villa. The marriage registrar's office was upstairs. He and Kambiz led the way, followed by Sasan and Farnaz, then Nargiz and Yalda. Yalda clung tightly to Nargiz's hand as they climbed. The stairs seemed endless. She stopped for a moment, staring into her friend's calm eyes. "Nargiz, I don't feel well. I don't even know why, but I want to cry." Nargiz squeezed her hand. "Don't let it overwhelm you. What are you afraid of? You said you trust Mr. Reza, right? Then trust his son too. But listen, if your heart says no, if you truly feel it's wrong, Yalda, don't go through with it. Say it now. Walk away." For a moment, Yalda froze, uncertainty flooding her. She stared at Nargiz, torn apart inside. Then, the sound of footsteps behind her drew her attention. Shahaab was coming up the stairs. Their eyes met, brief, electric, impossible to hold. Yalda gripped Nargiz's hand tighter and forced herself upward. Mr. Azimi, an old friend of Mr. Reza's, welcomed them warmly at the door of the registrar's office. The room was spacious, but worn. An old mirror and a pair of dusty candlesticks decorated the wall. In front of them stood 2 chairs, and on the low table lay a traditional sofre agd, its items dulled by neglect. Mr. Azimi asked the bride and groom to take their seats side by side. Yalda let go of Nargiz's hand and with hesitation sat down. Their faces appeared together in the mirror, and their eyes met for a brief instant, only to be quickly stolen away. An odd, unsettling feeling washed over Yalda. She couldn't explain why she wanted so badly to cry, loudly, endlessly. Wasn't she utterly alone? Where was her mother? Where was her father? What was she doing here among strangers? And with a man she hardly knew? How could she possibly marry him? How could she even imagine sharing a roof with him, if only for a single night? Everything and everyone felt distant, as though hidden behind a thick veil of fog and dust. What she saw, she could barely believe. Meanwhile, Farnaz and Nargis were bustling about, pulling things from their bags, each moment startling Yalda more. Nargis placed a small dish of honey by the old mirror and candlesticks, then held a pouch of sugar-coated almonds and coins, waiting at the ready. Farnaz, flustered and hurried, begged Sasan for help while she fumbled with her video camera. Kambiz, realizing for the first time what Yalda's friends had prepared, turned to Shahaab and whispered, "What a shame. I wish I'd at least brought my camera." Shahaab, with the same severe expression, muttered, "No need for this nonsense." Though Yalda avoided looking at him, his words stung. She shot him a reproachful glance. She longed to say, "I didn't know my friends had planned this either. I don't want today etched into my memory with films and photos." Just then, Farnaz lifted the camera to record, but Kambiz stepped in gently and offered to handle it so she could sit beside Yalda and Nargis. Farnaz, smiling, agreed. Each time Yalda caught Kambiz's gaze, she found kindness there, always paired with a warm smile. She couldn't help but return it. Mr. Azimi studied the bride and groom with sharp eyes. After a pause, he chuckled and said, "Well, have you ever seen a bride and groom this grumpy?" Everyone forced a laugh, though they all knew the truth. This marriage was unlike any other they had ever witnessed. Perhaps that explained why the bride and groom were so different too. Mr. Azimi added, "Truly remarkable. Come on, young man, a little smile wouldn't hurt." Shahaab glanced at the group, forced a bitter half smile, and nodded. Mr. Azimi went on, his voice warm and solemn. This moment is deeply spiritual, a divine blessing. Ask God to let you spend all your days together in harmony and happiness. Smile so that joy may weave itself into your life. Sensing the tension, Kambiz seized the moment. All right then, a round of applause for our moody bride and groom. The sharp, nervous clapping broke the heavy silence, though each set of trembling hands betrayed its owner's unease. Parvane had begged Yalda beforehand to recite Quran before the ceremony and make her wishes known to God, so Yalda pulled a small Quran from her bag and began to read. Farnaz bounded over, grinning. Yalda, pray for me too. They say the bride's prayers always come true. Shahaab shot Farnaz a knowing look and smirked. Meanwhile, Mr Reza produced the identification booklets and handed them to Mr Azimi. As Yalda prayed quietly, she lifted her head and caught Nargis's gaze, steady, calm, watching her as always. Her heart beat faster. She longed to throw herself into her friend's arms. Nargis came closer, took her hand, and whispered, "Do you need anything?" Yalda shook her head, eyes brimming with tears. Nargis leaned in, teasing softly, "Yalda, are you crying? Shame on you. Don't act like a child." Then, with a frown, she glanced at Shahaab, snatched a tissue from the table, and pressed it into Yalda's hand. "Sweetheart, what's wrong? If you're not happy, it's not too late. You can still say no." This time, Shahab's eyes flicked toward them, catching both Yalda and Nargis off guard. Yalda dabbed her tears, trying to compose herself. Kambiz, recording from across the room, set the camera down for a moment and approached with genuine concern. "Miss Yalda, is everything all right?" She forced a smile. No, it's fine, really." Nargis kissed her cheek and murmured, "I'm sure he's a good man, don't worry." Farnaz joined them then, cheerfully breaking the mood. "What's all this drama? Yalda, remember, don't say yes the first time. Make them ask again so you get a proper gift." She shot Shahaab a mischievous look, then pulled a ridiculous face that made Yalda, despite herself, laugh. For a moment, Farnaz's bright, easy joy felt enviable. At last, signatures were scrawled, awkward, crooked lines from Yalda and Shahaab, beside those of Nargis and Mr Azimi, across stacks of papers. Then came the recitation of the marriage vows. Farnaz pleaded to be the one to grind sugar cones over the couple's heads, and Nargis joined her, gently rubbing the sweet crystals together. Mr Azimi's voice filled the room as he read the sacred words. Silence fell. Hearts raced. The world outside seemed to vanish. There was only this moment, the merging of two separate lives, the birth of something entirely new. Kambiz filmed. Sasan lit candles and snapped photos. Nargis and Farnaz ground sugar over the couple. Mr Reza prayed quietly. Shahaab bowed his head, pensive, listening. Yalda closed her eyes, whispering her own private prayers. The vows ended. All waited, breath held, for the bride's reply, for Yalda's yes. "Don't say yes yet," Farnaz whispered quickly, then burst out laughing and called aloud, "The bride wants a little gift first." She gestured towards Sasan to bring her bag. Mr Reza stepped forward, reached into his pocket, and pulled out two small jewelry cases. Inside each was a heavy gold chain with a large pendant engraved with God's name. He placed one around his son's neck and the other around Yalda's. At Farnaz and Nargis's signal, Sasan dug into Farnaz's purse and handed Nargis the gift they had prepared together. Nargis carefully unwrapped it. A delicate, elegant bracelet that made her wrists look even lovelier. Kambiz, touched by the moment, slipped off the gold chain he was wearing and offered it to Yalda. "Please accept this from me," he said warmly. "I hope you'll always be happy." Yalda's heart swelled at such kindness from her friends. Shahaab stared at Kami in shock. "Kami, this isn't necessary," he muttered. Yalda, too, tried to refuse politely, but in the end, she accepted Kambiz's gift with heartfelt thanks. Sasan picked up the bouquet he had brought. As he set it carefully by the mirror, he plucked out the freshest flower and handed it to Yalda with a smile and a wish for her happiness. A meaningful glance passed silently between Kambiz and Shahaab. Then Mr Azimi recited the marriage vows once again. The room fell silent, everyone waiting. Yalda looked into the mirror. She caught Shahaab watching her. She lowered her eyes and whispered softly, "Yes?" The room erupted in clapping and cheers. Farnaz and Kambiz even whistled, filling the air with noise and laughter. Farnaz grabbed the bag of sweets from Nargis, scooped out handfuls of sugar-coated almonds and coins, and showered them over the bride and groom. The sweets fell across their hair and clothes, so much so that Shahab's hair was littered with them. For a brief moment, Yalda was caught up in the wild joy around her, and a genuine smile lit her face. Not even Shahab's tense, brooding expression could take that smile away. When it was Shahab's turn, his yes was cold and clipped, but the room was already so loud and cheerful that no one noticed the weight of his tone. Kambiz opened a box of pastries and passed them around. Everyone took one, everyone except Shahab, for whom the sweetness of the moment did not reach. Then Farnaz brought forward the small dish of honey and held it in front of Shahab. He looked at her with wide, surprised eyes. "What am I supposed to do with this?" Farnaz grinned. "It's tradition. You dip your finger in and feed a little to the bride." Yalda blushed furiously and pretended she hadn't heard. Kambiz teased, "Shahab, don't tell me you've never been to a wedding before." Shahab shot him a sharp look, then dipped his finger in the honey and, without even glancing, held it out toward Yalda's lips. Hesitantly, Yalda leaned forward and tasted it. Cheers and applause rang out from the friends as Farnaz handed the dish to Yalda in turn. This time she smiled shyly and fed a little honey to Shahab. At last, even his lips tasted sweet. When the ceremony drew to a close, Mr. Reza stepped up, took their hands in his, and said with quiet sincerity, "Treat each other with respect. Don't hurt one another." Then, turning to Shahab, he added in a softer tone, "Shahab, my boy, this girl is more precious to me than my own eyes. Take care of her." Shahab stayed silent, almost relieved that the ordeal was finally ending. But Mr. Reza had more in mind. At his suggestion, the group agreed to go out together for dinner. Yalda and her friends welcomed the idea, an excuse for laughter and a little freedom. Shahab, however, resisted. Mr. Reza cut him off firmly. "We agreed this day would go the way I planned. Tonight, you'll join us." Though the place was close, everyone hurried toward their cars. Yalda, desperate to shake off her heavy thoughts, whispered to Farnaz and Nargis, "I'll ask Mr. Reza if I can ride with you instead." But when she asked, Mr. Reza smiled gently and said, "Yalda, dear, better to ask your husband first." Silence fell like a curtain. Shahab pretended not to hear, chatting idly with Kambiz. Yalda instantly regretted asking. Not wanting to turn to Shahab, she said quickly, "Never mind, I'll go with Mr. Reza." Farnaz giggled. "What's this, changing your mind already? Want me to ask Shahab for you?" Before Yalda could protest, she skipped over to Shahab. "Mr. Shahab, would you mind if Yalda came with us?" Shahab shrugged as if it meant nothing. "She can do whatever she wants." That was all Yalda needed. With a small, defiant smile, she walked towards Sasan's car and said, "Mr. Reza, I'll ride with Sasan and the others," Yalda said, then quickly got in the car. She stole a glance at Shahab. He looked caught off guard and dropped his gaze. They all walked into the mosque. As they stepped into the courtyard, Sasan came hurrying toward them. "What took you so long? Go inside, say your prayers, and come right back. I'll be waiting right here," he said. Farnaz raised an eyebrow. "So, are you coming in or staying out?" "I'm leaving now, but I'll be back soon, right here." The moment they entered, the air changed. The fragrance of incense, the glow of the grand chandeliers, the intricate mirrors on the walls, the heavy wooden doors, everything wrapped around Yalda like a memory. For a heartbeat, she thought of her mother. Her mood shifted. Suddenly, it felt like she had someone to pour all her sorrow, fear, and trembling into, someone who would listen and give her peace. Farnaz and Nargis were quiet too, perhaps lost in the same stillness. There was something about these sacred places that pulled you outside yourself, stripped the world away until it was only you and him. The noise of life dissolved, your inner needs felt sharper, and tears flowed more easily than ever. Hope, too. Hope that prayers would be answered. Maybe that's why when people left such places, they walked away feeling lighter. Yalda's tears spilled as she whispered her prayers, not just for herself, but for all three of them. Farnaz nudged her playfully in the side. "Sweetheart, were you praying for us too? Don't forget to ask that Muhammad finally comes to propose this year." Muhammad was a distant acquaintance from Farnaz's hometown, someone who showed her family great kindness whenever she visited. It was enough for Farnaz to let her imagination wander. Yalda smiled through her tears and prayed for both her friends. Narges, her patient confidant, carried heavy burdens too, especially the unspoken love for her cousin, whom she rarely saw because of years of family feuds. When their prayers were done, they gathered again. Yalda snatched the mirror from Farnaz, peered at her reflection, and groaned. "Damn this mascara, it's all smudged." Farnaz burst out laughing. "Well, with all that sobbing, what did you expect? Poor thing, you've already landed yourself a husband. Why the waterworks?" The mood shifted again. Laughter bubbled between them, bringing them back to the ordinary world with all its charm. "Yalda, clean up under your eyes," Nargis suggested gently. Farnaz added, "Want some concealer?" "Yeah, hurry up." Within minutes, the three of them were polished up again, bright-eyed and fresh-faced.